Hey, good morning. It's Jay. It is about a quarter after 10 here in Brooklyn, New York, where it's beautiful out. Um, I wanted to spend some time today talking to you about Azure Static Web Apps and utilizing GitHub Actions to do automated deployments using whichever stack you like. Today, or I should say, whichever specific compatible stacks there are. Personally, I like using Gatsby, which is a Jamstack application. It is all JavaScript. It's really easy to get started with. So what I think we're going to do today, uh, and it shouldn't take us very long, is I'm going to create a static web app by utilizing Gatsby JS. I'm going to add a custom domain to it. So I want to let the cat out of the bag a little bit. You can see here, and let me go ahead and bring up my screen. Always awkward. This part of the streams, aren't they? Okay, share. Hopefully this is big enough for everybody. But what I'm going to do first is I've already created a DNS zone in Azure. Azure DNS is really great. It gives you the ability to manage all of your DNS records right out of this control panel, or you can use the CLI, things like that. So I'm not going to need to create a new DNS host or zone, rather. I'm going to do everything in the one I've already got. I know it's a little cheating, but we're going to learn together. So I'm going to delete some old records that I've got here. Give me one sec. And the only reason I'm deleting these is that I want to create them new, so that when you see all this stuff happen, you'll understand what it is exactly I'm doing. All right. So I'm just deleting those old records, and what I'm going to do first is let's take a look at what we're going to be working with, and it's Gatsby. There's a great Gatsby tutorial available on their website. I'll put it in the chat right now for you. So if you want to follow along, you can go over to this website, Gatsby.js, and there's also some really great Azure Static Web App Gatsby documentation. Let me show you that. Gatsby, Azure Static Web Apps. And so we've got some tutorials around that as well. There you go. I will make that something we can have in our chat as well. So if you want to access it, you can go to publish a Gatsby site. So this will help you do a lot of the stuff we're going to do today. So there's some prerequisites. First of all, you've got to have Gatsby actually installed on your computer. Installing Gatsby, and I'm just going to open up a terminal right here. Installing Gatsby is really easy. If you've got npm installed on your computer already, you're halfway there. If you don't have npm installed, installing npm, there's tons of guides, but this get npm tends to be the easiest one. You can download Node.js and npm. There's all these different installation models. For Mac, you would just do something that's like brew. Let me make this bigger for you. Like brew install npm, and then it would go through the process of getting all the requirements that you need and dependencies and installing npm. So once you've got npm, you can see npm -v. I've got 7.11.2. What I can do after that is actually utilize npm to install the Gatsby CLI. You can use npx, or you can use npm. I believe it's npm install Gatsby JS, and then I believe it's for global. That means it'll install the actual binary onto my computer. Uh, it'll keep it so then I can, let's see, what did I do wrong? Or maybe it's just Gatsby. Yeah, it looks like it was. No? Let's see. Oh, no, it's just a dependency issue. No big deal. All right. So now what's going to happen is Gatsby, the CLI tool to actually create our framework that we want to, it's going to actually right here be downloaded, installed, compiled, whatever you want to call it. And just so you know, you don't have to just use Gatsby. You can use Hugo, you can use ViewPress, you can use Jekyll. I like using Gatsby because it makes sense to me. It's really easy. We've got some great tutorials on it. So you can go ahead, you can try this out, publish a Gatsby site. This tutorial, it's great. So let's just wait for this npm install to finish. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. And so one of the things I want to show you is that I've already got some code created and some blog posts ready to go. There's this, essentially what we're going to be building today is this Gatsby blog starter. It'll allow you to create a Gatsby installation locally. And then what we'll do is we will take a look at some of the pieces. Right here, we show there's this node modules. It's all the npm modules that we're going to need that are installed. SRC, this is the source where all the code is going to be stored. Git ignore, it's self-explanatory. Prettier RC, Gatsby browser, this is where the Gatsby expects to find the usage of the Gatsby APIs. And so you can go through this process of reading everything on here. We're going to kind of go quick. Like it says, all the documentation is here. So we did this first as we set up our development environment. And so I did the install for Mac. You can see right here, here it says brew -v. You can install that, what you need over here, brew install node. After you install node, you can then start installing Gatsby. Cool? Cool. If you have any questions, go ahead and use the chat. I think that'll be your best way of doing it. So I have npm installed. I've got Gatsby JS installed, so you can see Gatsby -v. There we go. That's the version 3.6.0, which is now installed on my computer. So we can create and deploy our first site. And really what it'll come down to is, you can see here, what would you like to name it? So Gatsby, let's make dir demo, cd demo, and then let's do Gatsby new. And so now it's going to ask me what I want to call my starter site. And so I'm going to call this J's starter. Hit enter. Would you like to name the folder where your site will be created? We'll just call it J. Let's see. Okay, so will I be using a CMS? No. Would you like to install a styling system? No. We'll just use SAS. And so now we've got to the point where it's asking me if I want to build and host for free, add responsive images, all these different things, generate a manifest file. I'm not going to do any of those. Hit done. And so create a new file, a folder, and then it'll use SAS for styling my site. Shall we do this? Yes. So now it's going to clone the site template into a framework directory. So it's just scaffolding, if you will. It's all written in Node.js, and it gives us the ability to have a fully ready to go framework that then we can build upon. So I've already done a lot of this, and I'm going to fast forward a bit and bring you to what I've built already, which is this Gatsby starter blog. So let's take a look at some of the components. We've got this content/blog directory. This was built by the Gatsby starter blog that we created. We've got here Hello World, my second post, new beginnings, new updates. Let's take a look inside of Hello World, okay? So in Hello World, you'll see there's index.md, and it's asking me, it's showing me my fake blog, Hello World page, my opener page, and an egg. So I used a really great template for my site. I really like it. You can go here to gatsbystarterblog.org. Actually, Gatsby, let me put it in here. You can go to this particular website if you'd like and grab this theme. I really like this theme. It's super clean looking. It's great for demos. So I'm just going to kind of show you how to build this particular one. All right, cool. So I've actually created a repository of my code that just came in here. So what I want to do next is actually clone it locally to my computer. So I've also got it as a template. I'm going to go ahead and say if you want to use this template and just modify it for your own, you can go here to this GitHub repo, and you can actually just use this template. It'll give you this to be able to create a new repo. With this, it'll create a clone of what I've already built, and you can use that. So it makes it real simple for you to actually get started and not have to make your own repository and stuff like that. And then you can modify what I've got. So we're going to go here. We're going to clone my repo, and I'm going to just do it here. Click Git clone. You can use the tools within VS Code if you want to, but I'm just going to do it this way. So let's just open that directory. Okay, now I have my directory with my information here. What I like to do is I just grab this and throw it in here into VS Code. And so now I've got my site, my blog, everything that I need for VS Code right here. It's just really on a Mac. It's simple, drag and drop. I love doing it that way. That's just my preference. If you wanted to click the file and open workspace, and then you can select the clone repository, that's completely up to you. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create a local version of this blog, and we're going to take a look at what exactly we've got here. So if I do a npm install, it's going to go and grab all the required node modules that are necessary to actually get this up and running. So let's bring this up here. You'll see now it's building all the dependencies for my blog. Once it's done, I can actually start a local version of it. And so we go here into the create and deploy your Gatsby site again. You can see how you can cd into your site, and then you can do a Gatsby develop, or you can run npm run develop. So let's let this finish. And then once it's finished, we'll go ahead. All right, there we go. It's installed. So let's do Gatsby develop. And so that's going to create a local node server for actually accessing our Gatsby site. So it's going ahead. It's going to create a local version. It's just some dependency errors. We'll live with these things. And so what we should eventually get is this localhost 8000 installation. Okay, so there, and if we want to view the GraphIQL IDE to explore the data and schema, it's right there. So let's go take a look. So as you can see, I've got my blog locally running. And if we click here, a new update, you'll see as I click through, the queries for the page show you right here. And so my new update, J loves Gatsby and SWA. What we can do now, I've control C'd. It'll go ahead and it'll just kill what we're doing. Actually, let me leave it on because you can see that it'll actually update as I update this stuff. So to actually create blog posts and add content here, what we do is we just go into this blog directory that hosts all these individual markdown files. And these markdown files all contain what eventually will be created to a static site. So it takes this markdown and it converts it into the JavaScript and HTML required to actually run a website. Cool. All right. If you have any questions, I really hope you ask them. We've got this chat, it's running, and I am going to help you see this all the way through. So let's keep going. Alrighty. No need to see my face. We'll just bring this up now. So let's make a change, okay? I'm going to open up a second terminal just in case I need it. And I'm going to make a change to the blog by adding a new blog directory. So I'm going to do new folder, and I'm going to call it JDemo. And so within JDemo, we're going to need an index. So I'll just grab the header from this particular one. We'll go to JDemo, new file, index.md. So let's update all this. So today's date is 2021, 7th. So 06, 07. And I'm not too particularly worried about the time, so I'm just going to leave it. So it's JDemo. We're going to go ahead and change the description to J's demo. And so that'll be the description. I'll add the meta. You can add some additional metadata fields. Let's go over and we'll take a look. So this is all the basic stuff within here in the Gatsby tutorial docs, just showing you how to add a site using some hosting services. So now you can add some React and different style components if you'd like to. We're just going to be working with my simple blog today. So we're not going to be doing that, but you could add features. You could add Azure functions. There's all sorts of super ways of customizing this and making it yours. So now what I'm going to do is just say, hey, this is Jay's demo, right? Cool. Just a simple file, simple update. I'll save that. And let's refresh this. There we go. So it says hello world still, and that's not a problem. You can see I refreshed it, and the running version over here of the demo development version, it's up here. It's running. It's on my computer. It's not in the cloud yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and update the J's demo. Save that. There we go. Updated the title. Happened just like that. All right, cool. So we've actually created our demo site. We see that it works. We can navigate it. We know how to add updates to it. And so the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to show how to actually deploy it to Azure. So what we can do here is I've got a resource group already created. It's called J Gordon's public site. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click add, and it gives me the ability to add resources. So if you wanted to do this using something like a bicep installation or right through an ARM template, you can do that. For today's demo, let's just do it right here through the portal. And so we'll go and we'll search in the services and marketplace. And what I will type is static web app. Like that. And it gives you this nice and easy, ready to go information on what it is. And you can see the plans and app service is streamlined and highly efficient to take your static web app from source code to global high availability. And so a lot of times when we want to put up these little websites or apps and we need to have reliability, but we don't want to invest a ton of time in infrastructure, something like this is ideal. So we can go ahead and click create. And so let's go through step by step. So we've got my subscription where everything's going to be kept. The resource group is JAGordPub. If you don't know what a resource group is, I like to think of it like a carton of eggs. With a carton of eggs, you can put things in, you can take them out. And if you don't like what's inside the carton, you can take the whole carton and you can throw it away. And what's also good is if you have more than one carton, you can take an egg out of one and put it in another. There you go. So that's essentially what I like to analogize a resource group with. So once I've done that, now I can create a static web app. I've got to give it a name. So the name is just a naming convention internally. It is not going to be the domain name. We'll get into that, but that's a completely separate process. You'll get a temporary domain name, which means if you don't have a fully qualified domain name right now, that's fine. I luckily do. And I'm going to show you how to apply that. So if you do have a fully qualified domain name, what this is really great for is let's say you have, yourname.com or yourname.org and you wanted to build a blog like this and host it for free. You can. So let's go ahead and give it a name, JBlog. All right. And so now we can choose our different plan types. We can compare these plans, and free is exactly what it says. We get 100 gigs of bandwidth. Overages are free. You get 2 custom domains, an SSL certificate for free, which is, as an quote unquote old admin, that's so huge because the SSL installation process can be tedious. The acquisition of SSL certificates can be crazy stuff. You don't need that. And so also we get 3 staging environments. So we can have individual staging environments for different, branches of an application we might have that we want to test what they look like actually in the cloud, as opposed to locally. We can deploy to that and it'll give us an environment to work with. And then if you're utilizing Azure Functions, you can use the managed or you can bring your own in the standard version, but we're going to be using free. So we're going to click select. We're going to be using our free version. Azure Functions staging details. So this is where our Azure Functions API and staging environments are going to be located. I'm not going to be using one, but let's go ahead and configure this to East US 2. That's where I am the closest here in the lovely borough of Brooklyn in New York City. So deployment details. You get 2 options. So you can use GitHub, which is what I'm going to be using today, or other. And that means that you can use an other version of a deployment method, which in this case is Azure DevOps. So after the app is created, you can open it. You can follow the instructions to deploy the app. We don't need to do that. We're going to be using GitHub because we want to utilize the power of GitHub Actions. Cool? Cool. If you got any questions or you want to just send comments, go ahead, throw them in the chat. I am here. I am live right now. And I am really open to hearing what you're up to. It is Monday, and Monday means doing new things. And so I hope this, if this is new for you, you're tagging along and doing it as well. So let's say that our source is GitHub. And what we're going to do is I'm going to authorize Azure Static Web Apps to be able to utilize my GitHub account. And so that's going to create an access token. And that access token will allow us to actually do direct deploys from GitHub into Azure. We're not going to have to create the token ourselves and manage that and add it as a secret in GitHub. It's unnecessary. Let's take a look. I might have an old one with my secret. So if I go here to settings in the repository that I have on GitHub, we go to secrets. You can see I've got some old ones. So I'm going to just remove these. These are just some secrets that were created for our different deployments using GitHub Actions. So let's go ahead and pick an organization. And in this case, it's going to be my organization, Jade Estro. What is the name of our repository? It is Gatsby Starter Blog. And then our branch right now, it's main. That's the one that we're going to be working with. So we'll click Review and Create. It'll give us the brief synopsis of what it is we're going to be building. You can see right here, shows us the subscription I'm using, the resource group that I'm going to be putting it in, the name, and like I said, that's not the URL, that's just the name, the region, the SKU, which is free, the repo that we're going to be using, the branch we're building off of, the application / the output location. So let's take oh, I see what I did. So I skipped a step, and let's go back to it. The build details. So we actually can enter values here to create the GitHub Actions workflow file for the build and release process. And if you go into build presets, you'll see that there's these different basic JavaScript frameworks, and then the static site generators that are out of the box available to you using this service. And so I'm going to be using Gatsby. And so that's going to fill out our app location, which is / that's where our app is going to be actually stored. And then the output location, public. So if we go here into our application and we take a look at page data, we'll see that here's where actually the rendered pages are created. And this is eventually what is, posted live on the web page. So if you go into page data, you'll see there's all this information. Let me turn on word wrap. Where is it? View. Appearance. And toggle word wrap. There we are. And then so we'll go here into our word wrap. The file, we'll see that everything's been created. This was all processed by Gatsby. And so we want this to actually happen every single time. We want, let's see. I think there's a manual way of doing the Gatsby builds. Let's go to create and deploy. So you'll run the development server and it'll build it. And to be honest with you, every single time you run Gatsby develop, it will go ahead and it'll build those static pages that we eventually need. So we've got all that built. And now we're just going to kind of finish through the creation process. So app location, like I said, we'll keep / API location. We're not going to be using an Azure function today. If we wanted to, we could give the location of the function that we're going to be using. In many cases, it's / API. Tags. So we can give this a tag. So we can say environment. We can call it production. And that's just a naming convention, some metadata. Now we'll go to review and create. like we did before, a little bit better this time. This time we see the application, the API location, the output location is correct now. It's public, and the environment is production. So let's go ahead and click create. So what's this doing now? It's going to actually be creating our deployment, and that deployment is already ready to go. Let's go to our resource. And so what it did, it created here our Azure Static Web App. You can see we've got a deployment token created. We also can see that it's using its source is GitHub. So if I actually like expand that, you'll see it shows the GitHub repo where I'm keeping everything. If we take a look at the deployment history, you'll see it's being done by GitHub Action Runs. And what's powering it is this workflow file. So let's open up this workflow file. And so because we created that access token, it allowed the Azure Static Web Apps deployment process to drop this workflows file in the .github workflows directory. And so this is a random name that is given, and it's done by Azure to correlate with a fully qualified domain name URL here. Cool. So if you ever are working with multiple ones, you can always know that each one is represented by this full name. Alrighty. So now let's take a look about what's been created. So this workflow file is just some YAML that was made by Azure Static Web Apps here, and it gives us the ability to take a look at what's actually going to be done. So every time there is a pull request against the branch main, it'll start kicking off a job. And if the event name is push, then it will check a look at the pull request, see if it's been closed. Then it will start working through the process of doing a deployment. And so that deployment, you can see here, it runs on an Ubuntu latest container image. The name right here is build and deploy job, exactly what's going to be happening. The uses, it's going to be checking out. Then it's going to be doing the build and deploy. So it uses Azure Static Web Apps deploy process. We have our Azure Static Web Apps API token. So that's that secrets token that we are using to be able to make that integration between the two. We're going to allow it to upload. Now we give those application location output API that we specified when we went ahead and picked the Gatsby as our framework, our static site generator. And then eventually it shows that it's going to close and pull the request. It's going to deploy it to Azure. It's going to close the request and finish up the process. Okay. So that's the raw file there. Let's actually take a look at the GitHub Action Run. And you can see right here, CI add static web apps file. And that, as soon as I actually finished my deployment, it kicked off this process. And so let's take a look at it. So we've got this build and deploy job. What happened? It's going to match exactly what was in that workflow file. So if we look, just do some comparison real quick. Oop, we'll get it. So if we look here and we see this build Azure Static Web Apps deploy at V1, you'll see right here, that's the process right there. So you can see it matches one-to-one. The GitHub token permission, the workflow file, prepare all required actions. It's going to go through the process, and then the build. So it'll build container. It will pull the requirements for that build container. Then it will start the process of checking out my code from my GitHub repository, deleting the contents, and then doing a build. So it'll start building. It'll run through this whole process, fetch whatever submodules there are. Then it'll do the build and deploy process. So it's set up everything for our environment here. And now it's actually going to do a Docker run, as you can see. with that created container with all the information that we need. So as you can see, it uses Oryx build to build both the static app and the Azure function. It goes through the actual build. And if you look, you'll see using node version 14.15.1, Yarn version for installation. And so it'll go through the build process. And so Gatsby build runs, and we could run Gatsby build here locally, and that'll build whatever pages that we have. So those static pages that we created in Markdown will then eventually get created as these public files. And then those public files will become what is our actual website. So you can see it went through this whole process. It finishes, and then the post actions as it checks out and completes the job. And then if you go close pull request job, not doing that here. And so let's go to our blog. We'll click the URL and you'll see, here we go, new update. We made our change. Or I should say we deployed our site. Now we want to make a change to it. And so what I'll do here locally is I'm going to git pull, because now we have some changes here. We've got this workflow file that's been added, and we obviously are going to need that so that we can make sure that our two repositories, both locally and remotely, are up to date. So now I'm going to create a branch. So a git branch -n changes. Oh, well, it's actually, that's not -n, it's just git branch changes. Okay, so now I'm on branch changes, and now what I just want to do within this branch is make a quick change. All I'm really going to do is go into, let's just make sure. We're all here. We'll go here to the source control. We'll see the changes that have been done here. Back to the files. So what we'll do is we'll go into Hello World. We'll go into JDemo. Actually, we'll make a quick change. Hello Monday. Save that. And so let's take a look here. Let's do git Gatsby develop. And so it'll start building our page that we have. And from there, what we'll be able to do is have those changes, Hello Monday, rendered. Oh, something's already running. So I've already got this running. So let's go ahead and look at our local installation. It should be up here already. Where's my? So it'll be localhost 8000. Okay, so Jay's demo. There it is, Jay's demo, Hello Monday. So let's git add git commit -m J changes, and then we'll git push. And so what we'll do is then go to our starter blog here, and we'll see here, I've got this one changed file here in that. Oh, did I do this on main? I did it on main. I'm sorry. I was going to do it in its individual branch and then merge that branch, but we've got our commit here. So what I did was I made a change directly to the master branch, which you really should not do. That's my mistake. And so let's go here and view the code. And if we go to source, actually, excuse me, we go to blog, we go to JDemo, you'll see within here, I've committed that change, Hello Monday. So now let's go back to GitHub Actions. So if we go to the GitHub Actions runs, we'll see here J changes. As soon as we pushed to the main branch, it went here and and also, by the way, I figured out what I did when I was supposed to do git checkout, and then my changes branch that I was going to create. But hey, you live and you learn. You keep making mistakes, and then you eventually remember what you did wrong and you fix those. Anyway, so there's the build and deploy job that's currently going on. So as soon as we made changes, we committed them to our main branch, you can see that kicked off our CI/CD process, and it's doing a build and deploy right now. You can actually watch the log live, which I really like to do. I'm an ops nerd. I like to see process. And so you can see that it's going through the process of building our Gatsby site, rendering all that JavaScript into the static pages that we're eventually going to need. And copying the files to the destination directory where it eventually becomes deployed via the Oryx build process to Azure. And then it'll run through, here we go, it's in progress time, pretty fast. And then it'll go through the post actions. So it'll finish the upload. You can see right here, it even tells you where to visit the site. Hello Monday. So our site changes are live on our temp website here. It's just going to go complete the job. As they say in Ghostbusters, the light is green, the trap is clean. You can add tests to this process if you want. So if there's some stuff that you have made changes to and you want to test that it's working, you can add tests that'll go through that process when you actually create your CI/CD pipeline. So there are, now that we've got everything, we see that there are all these different settings that we can work with. And one of those settings is custom domains. So I showed you before I have a custom domain, jdestro.org. I've already got a DNS zone created for it. And what I want to do is I want to add a custom domain. So I'm going to go ahead and put jdestro.org. Next, it's going to have me add a text record into the DNS zone. So if you don't know what a text record is, it's a note. It leaves notes on a DNS server. It doesn't actually make a change to the zone, but it creates a note. And so I'm going to go ahead and generate this note that's going to configure our DNS service from Azure Static Web Apps to our Azure DNS. So I'll click generate code, and it's going to generate some code to validate that we own the domain. I will go ahead and bring up over here the DNS zone that we're eventually going to need to work with. So it's going to create that. And let me go here. We'll go to jdestro.org. That's the DNS zone that we're actually going to be working with. We're going to go to record set. We're going to be adding a text record. And then the record, we just have to do it. Host is at. So we don't have to add any other specific things for this, like subdomain or anything like that. All right. So let's see. Our code is still being generated. And so while that's happening, I am just going to take a moment to remind you that, one, you can go here to the Gatsby starter blog page, and you can get the same template and blog that I'm working with today. If you like to, go ahead, use the template and clone it. So right now we've got our value, our code that we need that's going to go into the value here. It's just this serial number that validates that we own the domain. We'll click OK. That'll create the text record set. And so now this will validate that text record set exists. So TTL is only set to 1 hour. I'm going to just bring it up to 90 seconds just to kind of speed this process up. So the time to live on the DNS record, you don't want to leave it at that unless you're constantly making changes. So right now, what it's going to do is going to validate that I've added that text record. And then once it validates that I have that text record, I can add a record set for an alias record. And let's see, alias record to an IPv6. No, we're not going to do that. So we got to wait for this to finish validating. And what we'll do is we'll leave the apex to just jdestro.org. We don't need to make another change. We're going to select it's an alias record set. We're going to pick my subscription that my alias record set is going to live under. In this case, it is this J Gordon demo test one I have. Then I'm going to pick a resource on where it's going to be hosted. And right here is JBlog. We'll set our, you can see it's already ready to go. So we'll set our TTL to 30 seconds. What are we waiting on here? We'll click OK. There's already a record name. Oh, so then I think I need to, I need to add the @ Add another record name, the type or modified. The blank name is treated as @ So that'll be the apex record, right? That is @. So let's see. Do I still have that apex record there? I do. Let me delete this old one, okay? Sorry about that. So this was from an old version of it that I had. We'll just delete this old version of it. It says here that it can take up to 12 hours for DNS changes to take effect. I've seen they happen pretty quickly. So let's go back here. Okay, we deleted that other record. Let's add the record that we were doing before. It's an alias. Put the @ here, so it's just our apex of our domain. I'm going to pick JBlog. TTL of 30 seconds. Click OK. And so now it's creating a record set that's pointing our website to our Azure Static website. So let's go ahead and click close. It's still in the process of validating. It's our custom domain. Okay, so let's take a look. What happens when we go to jdestro.org now? Advanced. So it hasn't been finished yet, so we don't have our website quite configured yet, and this could take a little while. But what you'll do is eventually you'll allow this process to continue. It'll validate based on this text record that you've added, and here it is. And then once that's finished, you'll be able to get to your website using your custom domain. You can see there is this auto-generated one. You can get up to 3 custom domains using this version of free. You can see here on the hosting plan, I should say 2 custom domains. Or if you can move to standard, you can get up to 5 per app. So we kind of did this quickly, and I showed you how to build a Gatsby blog using Azure Static Web Apps. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to talk more about this, you can always find me on Twitter at jdestro. It's really been cool. Hope to see you on Thursday for AzureFunBytes, where this week we're going to be talking about OpenShift on Azure. I have my co-host, my guest, I should say, this week, JJ Asgar. JJ is going to show me exactly how to manage containers using OpenShift on Azure. Until then, I will see you soon. Thanks again for watching. Always appreciate you all kind of coming out and being part of this. And so if you're watching on YouTube, thank you as well. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.